Probably all you attack lovers out there are going to be super happy today because I'm going to explain how to play one of my favorite openings. And on top of that, we're going to go over all the options so that when you try it out in your own games, you'll know what to do, how to play it, and you'll remember this video well so you can win your game. We're talking about one of the most well-known gambits on the channel, even though we've never really covered it in depth. It's called the Danish Gambit. But today, I'm bringing you a modification that I've been practicing, and I actually like it even more. For those who don't know, the Danish Gambit is this one right here. After the double king's pawn opening, we play d4, right? We give up a pawn, then c3, giving up another pawn, and then we'd also give up this third pawn with this bishop to c4, right? The idea behind the Danish Gambit is that we get incredibly powerful bishops. When these two bishops are side by side, meaning they're on adjacent diagonals, they're extremely strong in exchange for two pawns. Of course, it's totally worth it. The thing is, there's certain lines black can play that bother me a bit, like d5, giving back some material and cutting off our initiative, and that's why I've been recommending a really good opening so they can't go for those lines. So pay attention, we'll start with the pawn. King pawn to e4. Almost always, they're going to respond with the double king's pawn, right? If they don't play the double king's pawn, you won't be able to use this opening, right? It's simple against the double king's pawn, but hey, good news, because it's the most common move in this position. All right, instead of starting with d4, we'll go with knight to f3, pretending like we want to play a totally normal game, right? Threatening this pawn, and we already know that the best move here is knight to c6, and really the only good one, right? So here we're going to play d4, as if we were playing a Scotch opening. But after pawn takes pawn, we're going to do the same thing as in the Danish Gambit. We give up a pawn, and now we give up the next one. Relax, because a lot of you are going to say, well, sure, you're telling me that if they take all these pawns, that's great, but our opponent isn't forced to capture the pawns. You know what? It's very simple. If your opponent doesn't want to recapture, then you'll recapture yourself. You won't be down a pawn. And you'll be playing a great game, because look, you'd have the center, a pretty advantageous position for us. Of course, the best move for black is to accept this pawn here. So now we're not going to recapture this pawn, neither with the knight nor with our b pawn, which is probably what our opponent is expecting, and instead we're going to play this bishop to c4. Again, if they don't take on b2, which is the most common and the best move for black, all right? It's the best move. We're going to recapture it ourselves with the knight, and we'll have three pieces developed, we'll castle on the next move, while our opponent is still on the back rank doing nothing. So the best move is for them to capture this pawn. Alright, they've captured three pawns, and we've only taken one, you see? We've only captured one, but our development advantage is so big that we'll have the game exactly where we want it. I repeat, if they don't capture your pawns, it's no big deal. The game will be very calm and very much in your favor. Now, what happens if they do capture it? Well, they better get ready, because check out what we're about to do. Here, unlike in the traditional Danish Gambit, they can't just give up a bit of material for the initiative with this d5, because we could simply capture with the pawn, we'd be threatening this knight, it would have to move, then we'd castle, and our position would be excellent. So what should they do here? Well, they have a few ideas, but there's only one correct move for black. That's what I really like about these openings I bring you. Since there's only one correct move for black, if they don't play it, we're already better off. The only correct move is this one here, bishop to b4 check. Why? Because it's the only move that doesn't let us castle on the next turn. If they play, for example, d6, knight f6, whatever, we'll just castle, right? And as you can see, our position is complete. Absolutely wonderful. Our opponent is a bit boxed in here, can't really do anything. We've already castled. We're going to bring in the knight, the rook, push our pawn forward, and this position is advantageous for white and extremely comfortable to play because our pieces just move around the board beautifully on their own. So here, chess teacher, let's see what happens if they actually play the only good move, bishop to b4, because I don't want to just sit around waiting for them to make mistakes. If they make mistakes, great. But if they play well, what do I do? Well, here we go. After this bishop to b4 check, we'll block with the knight. Look, I'm aware that most of you aren't going to remember everything the first time. I didn't even remember everything the first time myself, right? Keep reviewing this, save the video, and eventually you will play it perfectly. For some, 1 or 2 views suffice, while others may need 15 or 20. It's completely normal, and everyone goes at their own pace. Very good. The best part is that your opponent won't know how many times you practiced, so practice as many times as you need without worrying. All right, we've covered ourselves. Now they can play any move. Do you know what's great about this gambit? The improved Danish gambit, as we could call it, really gives you a very comfortable position even if you don't remember the moves exactly. And we don't have to pay too much attention to what our opponent is doing, because our plan is almost always the same. Do you see what they've done? They've developed their knight naturally, and give the check, developing the bishop and gaining a tempo. If they don't give you this check, then it's the same, but with an extra tempo for you. Now then, whenever we can, what did we say we wanted to do? Castle. Our opponent can also castle. And now, here's a plan I love. Remember this move. Because it's a beautiful one, right? Circus knight. What a way to improve our knight, right? You can already tell that our pieces are coordinating much better than our opponents. These 2 bishops side by side are aiming at the king. Both the knight and the bishop on b2 are targeting the knight on f6, and right now they're threatening to break the castling. And we already know that if we capture here and open up this castling over here, leaving the pawns doubled on the file, this position will be fantastic for us. We place this knight around here, the queen would come in, this would be a steal for us. However, here the opponent has several ways to react. Which one is it? The very best way for black to react here, well, the best is to pull this bishop back to e7, basically saying, all right, I'm just going to keep defending, so go ahead and try whatever you want here. If they retreat this bishop, you can simply play knight takes bishop. Let me show you here. And after queen takes, you have an extremely comfortable position where you could keep pressing, for example, with e5 and launch an attack toward the king side. And this position is very easy to play. You can see that for yourselves. But what happens then? The truth is, nobody actually retreats this bishop to e7. That's just how it is, because almost no one gives up their pair of bishops, especially when ours is so powerful. So, what moves do I always see here? Well, I usually see 2, and I'm going to show you how to win the game against both. The first one is, well, this knight is really bothering me. You're threatening me. This knight with 2 pieces, so I play knight takes knight and get rid of the problem. And the other is to say, this knight was defending the d4 square, so now that you come over here, I take this pawn and once again have 3 extra pawns. How do we punish both options? Let's start, for example, with this one. Honestly, the order doesn't matter to me. Knight takes on d4. How should we continue? Well, this is important. When they capture this pawn here, we need to know that we have several correct moves in this position. It's a very simple position. Maybe here I wouldn't memorize too much theory because our position is clearly advantageous. For example, we reposition our pieces so they work together. For instance, bishop to d3 threatens this knight. If it moves over here, we'll go back to the previous idea and literally blow open their kingside castling. Then we could come in with the queen, with the bishop, and that would be a guaranteed win. The other and best option they have is to defend the knight with f5. Very good. Once they defend it, we could simply do the following. I capture this bishop on b4, simply because that way I divert the other knight, and you're running out of possible defenses. And now I could continue, for example, with queen to b3 check. And if you're not careful, I'm going to take this knight over here. Therefore, there's only one way to try to hold on with black, which is to play d5, logically giving up the knight, but at least pay attention, let's count the pieces carefully. We have a minor piece in exchange for 3 pawns, so material equality. Remember, material equality. If we were already better before with 3 pawns down, just imagine now that we have material equality. This position is a joy to play with the white pieces, and it's practically impossible to save for black. Yeah. For those who are more curious and more professional, I'll tell you that the best move for black is c5. You can retreat the queen pretty much wherever you want, and at this point, there are no more expansion plans for black's pieces. For example, let's imagine they play, I don't know, just as an idea, bishop to d7 to try to develop their pieces. We can simply keep attacking with knight to e5. Don't try to memorize this, please. I'm just showing you that this position is extremely comfortable. For instance, they might play something like this. queen to e7, and we exchange here, and as you can see, this position could practically win itself after this 3 threatening the knight, and when it moves, we could continue with queen takes c5. We start to recover pawns, the bishops start putting pressure from all sides, and both rooks will come into play. Do you see how comfortable this position is to play for the white pieces? Watch it as many times as you need. I'll say it again. Alright, now let's see what happens if they play knight takes knight, which is the move I encounter most often in games. And I love it because it's very easy to punish, and it's actually the one that gives us the simplest advantage and victory of all. Don't be afraid to repeat these lines, because repeating is the best way to learn. I'll repeat, e4, e5, knight to f3 attacking the e5 pawn, knight to c6 defending, and now we simply start with d4. The only good move is to capture, c3. Again, the only good move is to capture, because otherwise we would recapture and have a strong center. And now, instead of capturing, bishop to c4, and again, the only good move is to recapture. In fact, as you can see here, we're down 2 pawns, but our position is clearly advantageous. Very well. How are black going to continue after this bishop takes on b2? There's only one move that gives them some compensation, and that move is bishop to b4. But remember, if they play anything else, whether it's d6 or knight to f6, castle and the plans remain the same, but the opponent has no compensation. Very well, after bishop to b4, we'll block with knight to c3, and now it really doesn't matter to us. d6, knight to f6, maybe knight to f6 is best because it directly threatens knight takes e4, which I hadn't mentioned before, and that's why we have to castle right away, although we were already planning to castle immediately. Alright, the move we were looking at was knight to d5. This move is wonderful. We've seen that the best option, although rarely played, was bishop to e7 so that we could capture this bishop with the knight and then put pressure with e5. And we've also seen knight to e4, which gave us a super comfortable game. And now we're going to look at the most commonly played move, which is knight takes knight. Here they say, well, I'll trade knights with you and forget about the problem. But of course, the problem gets bigger because now we recapture with the pawn. And this pawn here on d5 is now doing an amazing job of exerting force. Logically, this knight can't jump forward because it would be lost. It also wouldn't be a good idea to jump to the side, even though many of you might be thinking, here, I'm attacking this bishop. That would be a complete mistake. And I'll explain how to punish it in a very simple way. Bishop to b3. There's no piece defending the castling. Everything is aiming at the castle position, and this is won super easily. We're simply going to come in with the queen, with the knight, and it's impossible for them to bring all their pieces over here in time. In other words, here, if at any point after the exchanges, let's repeat this, when we play knight to e5, and after the trades they put their knight on a5, they're digging their own grave, because we redirect the bishop to d3, and that's it. But what's normal, and what I've always had played against me, is knight to e7. Well, I can't remember now if anyone has ever played knight to a5 against me, but the most popular and logical move is knight to e7. That's probably what I would do myself. And this is simply a win for us. No matter what, we're going to win this game for sure. There's no way it can slip away now. And we're going to continue with the key move. d4, when the bishops are attacking toward the king, a combination and a battery with the queen is usually completely lethal. Checkmate is being threatened, and there are only 2 ways to stop it. f6 would be a complete mistake, because simply playing d6 would be a discovered attack and we'd win the knight. The best option here is knight to f5. This knight serves to attack the queen and defends the g7 square. How do we continue? Well, it's very simple. The only thing you need to do, is to move the queen over. Place the queen on g4, threatening this square just the same. Even though it's defended by the knight, our next move will be to attack that knight so we can deliver checkmate. How can they continue? Well, here the most logical thing is, the most logical move is to play g6 to defend the piece properly. Not only to defend it, since it is currently pinned at the moment, but primarily to stop the checkmate and to enable the knight to move freely. The same thing would happen if they play d6, attacking this knight, okay? The plans are the same. This opening is great because regardless of their play, pay attention, the plans stay the same no matter what. You can start using it in your games. It's really great. So what do we do? Well, simply, all we have to do is bishop to e3 and the game is basically over. We're threatening the knight. If they don't move it, we'll play bishop takes knight and they won't be able to recapture because the king is in the way. The most common move I've seen is d6 to block the knight. But whether they play d6 or move the knight away, do you know what the problem is? Not by playing bishop to d3. Not only are we threatening the knight, but we're also uncovering an attack on the bishop on b4. So whether they play d6 or move the knight away, on the next move, for example after d6, we play queen takes b4. And this game is obviously completely won, because once again we have a piece in exchange for 3 pawns, and the attack is still the same. We'll place the queen on c3, and it's just a matter of time before this attack ends in checkmate. This game is a clear win for white. For the more curious, this position gives white an advantage of over +4. If you want, I'll show you a game that continued with bishop to d7, and white won very quickly. They put the rook on the open file, and here black tried to counterattack with the move a5. White placed their queen on f4, you see, trying to attack without complicating things, not even worrying about what's going on. And now, after this counterplay move c6, there's really nothing to be done. The game continued with bishop takes. Here, you could simply recapture with the pawn, but that would be a disaster, so it's much better to take with the bishop, and then this game basically wins itself with knight to h4. Now the threat to capture this bishop is real, so the safest move is to retreat it, and once it's pulled back, watch out for the bishop coming in, threatening the queen, which moved back to c7, and the game continued with queen to h6, an unstoppable checkmate. On the next move, and here, black resigned. As you can see, this gambit is a real ticking time bomb for winning with the white pieces. I especially recommend it to all of you who enjoy attacking chess. I'm going to leave several things for you down below in the description. I'll leave you a free app for studying openings that I use myself, created by Grandmaster Mauricio Flores. If you're a regular on the channel, you've probably already tried it. I'll also leave the free masterclass. Well, actually no, this one isn't free. Let's not get carried away. Chessteacher. This masterclass consists of more than 20 lessons from a grandmaster, where he has chosen a pawn structure that comes up a lot in games and has taught how to win with it both as white and as black. It's called the winner's model, and you'll also find it in the description. And of course, you'll also find my book and the newsletter, alright? Why don't you take a look at the description and see if there's something there that can help you improve your chess level. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Important, make sure to save it so you don't miss it in the coming days. You're going to want to review it, and then you won't be able to find it. You can save it down below, and I'll see you tomorrow, as always, in the next video, friends. Goodbye!